Welcome to this video lesson for lesson 1 from A Fresh Approach for the Beginning Percussion class. We are still talking about the keyboard, mallet keyboard percussion instruments. In lesson number 1, I taught you the stroke exercises, 8 on a hand, single strokes and double strokes. Hopefully you are spending a good amount of time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, practicing those exercises along with the daily warm-up video. And you're practicing not only on snare drum, but also on keyboards, okay? Getting those mallets in your hand and practicing that. We also covered a few of the notation basics of not only learning how to draw a treble clef and learning about the musical alphabet. But now, what we're going to do is learn to locate the notes on the staff. All right, in your book, on page number 27, there is your first speed test. And these speed tests basically are improving your ability to find the notes on the treble staff. So if I look at speed test number 6, all I'm doing is naming the spaces. So what is the name of all of the spaces on the treble staff? It is F-A-C-E. It spells the word face. Okay, that's pretty simple to remember. Now, when we're finding these notes on the staff, if I'm in that very first space, that will always be F. All right, first space is easy to recognize because it's just in that first space. Okay. Now, if I move to my second note, notice that I am not in the first space, I'm in the second space, so F-A. Now, in my head, I can either say F-A and name that note A, or I can just know that it's not in the first space, it's in the second space, so it's always A. Do this one. What is that? F. What is this one? A. Now, when I get up to the third space, notice here that something changes. In the second space, my stem is going up. When I get to my third space, my stem is going down. So I can actually kind of use that as a visual to know whether I'm playing an F or an A. The C and E, the stem will go down, at least for now with this easy quarter note. So it's a great way for you to kind of recognize where to find the C. All right, so this note here is a C. All right, stem is going up. I'm on the second space, that is an A. The stem is going down. I'm on the third space, F, H, C. What is this one? A. F is easy. A, getting the hang of it. Stem is going down, it's on the third space, F, A, C. Now we get to the top space. Top space to me is kind of like the bottom space. Pretty easy to recognize because it's the highest one of all the spaces. So E. Go down a space, C. Top space, E. Oh, look, the stem is going up and it's on the second, F, A. So now we're getting used to being able to name those notes. Now, with all of the speed tests, what I do not want you to do is take your pencil and write in the note names. What we do is we use this as an exercise where we just point to a note on the page and name the note. Point to the next note and name that note. Now we're going to use the same ones kind of over and over to get faster and faster and faster at this. So do not write in the note names. All right, we're going to use a metronome and I'm going to put the metronome on 40 beats per minute, which is insanely slow, okay? But as we're doing these exercises, you're going to find out that we're not going to go slow for very long, all right? That is slow, so let me put the subdivision on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight a note on one count, and then I want you to say the note name on the next count. All right, so it works like this. Just kind of watch me do it. F, A, F, A. Okay, you get the idea? So every other count, I want you to think of naming the note. So let's do this line together. Okay, but what I want you to do, I'm highlighting with my iPad. What I want you to do is physically touch each note on one beat and then say the note name. Physically touch the next note, say the note name. And the reason why I'm doing this is because if you haven't been playing piano, you haven't been reading music, it all gets jumbled up after a while. The better that you get at learning to follow the music as it moves from note to note, the better that you're going to get at reading music. So touch each note on one beat, say the note name on the next beat. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. Touch, F. Touch that note, A. Touch, F, move, A. What's that note? C. A. C. Keep going. Touch it. A. Are you touching every note? F. A. C. E. C. E. A. So we've gotten used to that at a very slow tempo. Now hopefully you're thinking fast, all right? That shouldn't be that hard at that very slow tempo, just to think F-A, F-A-C, F-A, F-A-C-E, F-A-C, F, F-A. If you need to use the letter names and count up from the bottom, you can do that. After a while, getting used to just seeing stems up on the bottom to F-A, stems down on the top to C-E. All right, we're going to move that tempo up. We're going to do that same line at a faster tempo. All right, let's move it up to 60 and see how well you do. Now, same thing, touch the note on the first beat, say the note name on the second beat. 1, 2, ready, go. Touch the note, F, A, F, A, C, A, C, A, F, A, C, E, C, E, A. All right, so it's just a bunch of notes all spread over the staff, all in spaces, just getting very used to reading the spaces of the treble staff. Now, before we go on to number 7, I want you to turn to the appendix in the back of the book for more exercises using the spaces of the treble staff. The appendix has a whole lot of speed reading exercises because the more you do this, the faster that you do it, the quicker that you're going to learn how to recognize notes on the staff. So we're going to speed this up. Actually, let's do it at 60 beats per minute. Let's just try line number 1. In each one of these, we're going to get faster and faster. And this is the whole point of it, is to get really good at recognizing the spaces of the notes, or the notes in the spaces of the treble staff. So let's try number 1 together. Remember, we're going to touch the note on 1, say the note name on 2. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. Touch it, F, A, C, A, C, A, F, A, C, A, C, E, C, E, C, A. Okay, just getting used to finding those note names very quickly. You may or may not be able to do that. Certainly if you've been playing piano for a while, that is a breeze and you're probably bored already. But what's tricky about it is the faster that you do it, the faster that you have to recognize those note names. So I'm going to speed it up to 80. See if you can do that same line at 80. 1, 2, ready, go. Touch. F, A, C, A, C, A, F, A, C, A, C, E, C, E, C, A. Okay, did you do pretty well on that? Chances are that if you're just starting to read music, that might have been too fast for you. But here's the deal. You always want to challenge yourself. Now, in this lesson here, I have 3 lines that are just the treble staff, the spaces of the treble staff. So you don't have to memorize, or you can't memorize, unless you're crazy and you have nothing better to do with your time. You won't be able to memorize those lines, but just touching each note and saying the note name, gradually getting faster, gradually getting faster. All right, so I want you to spend at least 10 minutes of every practice session on lesson number 1, going through line number 1, 2, and 3, getting faster and faster. Eventually you want to challenge the entire class to see who can get the fastest. Put it on 100, put it on 120, put it on 160. Pretty soon people will start dropping out because it gets harder and harder. So I can move this up to, let's say, 120. Okay, but now instead of every other beat, I'm going to see if I can say on line number 2 the note names on every beat. So let's see if we can do this one. You can try it with me. We're on line number 2. Every beat, say a note name. Here we go. 1, 2, and 1, 2, ready, go. A, F, A, C, E, C, A, F, E, C, F, A, C, F. How'd you do? All right, that might be kind of tricky for you, all right? Especially if you haven't read music for very long. If you have, and that was simple, I got a fix for you. Let's move it up to 140. Let's move it up to 160. Eventually, everyone will fall apart because it gets harder and harder to say those note names. C, F, E, C, A, F, C, A, E, A, C, F, C. So you kind of get tongue-tied after a while, but you need to be able to do it faster and faster. Okay, let's move back to page number 27, and we're going to do the other speed test. We'll do just one more where we're finding the notes on the treble staff. This is line number 7. But now instead of spaces, we're going to do the lines. Now remember, the lines of the treble staff are every good boy deserves fudge, or whatever you want to say. Elvis guitar broke down Friday. Or what I like to do is just memorize E, G, B, D, F. Say the first 3 letter names of the lines a couple of times. E, G, B, 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 E, G, B. That's pretty simple. Now add D. E, G, B, D, 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 E, G, B, D. Now F. E, G, B, D, F, E, G, B, D, F, E, G, B, D, F. So if you'll take 60 seconds and say those letter names a bunch of times, then it gets easy. You won't have to have a crutch of a sentence to help you. Now that's going to be important because as we're reading the notes on the lines of the treble staff, we don't want to have to say every good boy deserves fudge, every good boy deserves. We don't want to have to say all of that stuff. We can just say the letter names, EGB, EGBD, EGBDF, okay, just like that. All right, so let's go through this really slowly without a metronome first, and let's just find these note names. So bottom line, very simple, is E. So as I walk up the lines like a ladder, G, E, G. Now my next one, third line, e.g. B. Okay, so I can count from the bottom, e.g. B, or I can look at the stems and notice that this one, E and G, stems are going up, B is going down. B is also kind of a landmark because it's in the very center of my 5 lines. Okay, I always make it easy, e.g. B right in the center. I don't even have to think of crawling up that ladder. I can just go like, nah, that's the third rung of the ladder. That's a B, always. All right, keep going. Second, E.G. Okay, right in the center, stem down, E.G. B. Now it gets a little bit harder as I go higher. E.G. B, D. Okay, if you practice saying that, that's pretty simple. That's a D. Right in the center of the staff, B. Fourth line, D. And my top line is always easy to remember, just like my bottom line. Top line is F. Keep going. B, E, G, E. Middle is B. Fourth line, not the top line, E-G, B, D. All right, so I really encourage you to practice a little bit saying those letter names, E-G, E-G-B, E-G-B-D, E-G-B-D-F, E-G-B-D, E-G-B-D, okay? Getting used to doing that, that'll help you recognize those notes. Now we're gonna do it at 40, slow down to my really slow tempo, and see if you can, on count 1, touch that note head. Count 2, say the name out loud. So let's go really slow. Ready, and go, and touch, E, touch, G, touch, B, touch, G, touch, B, touch, D, touch it, B, D, top line, F, middle line, B, bottom line's easy, E, G, E, middle line, B, D. Okay, so you get the hang of it. All right, the important thing is to go at whatever speed that you can do it without making mistakes. All right, this is going to be a fundamental practice tip for everything that we do, is that don't try to go faster than you can do it correctly. All right, if you're on 40 and you're making mistakes every other count, slow it back down to 30. Okay, there's no harm in practicing slow. You're going to learn it correctly faster. All right, if you get faster and you get to 60 and you get to 80 and you get to 100, you can do it at 80, but you can't do it at 100. Slow it back down to 90. All right, every time you're making progress, and that's the important thing about this. So take your time, do line number 7 a few times at 40, move it up to 60, go to the appendix. On lines number 4, 5, and 6, it's just the lines of the treble staff that you're naming the notes. Okay, so spend some time on the spaces, get really comfortable with the spaces, then spend some time on the lines and get really comfortable with the lines. Later, we'll start mixing it up. But for right now, spaces first, get really comfortable, lines, get really comfortable. All right, let's look at the bottom of page number 27. This is a different speed test. This is a speed test where we're finding the notes on our keyboard. Now, we remember that the C is below our group of 2 accidentals. Okay, that's one of our home keys. And our F is below the group of 3 accidentals. So if I have my C and my F, I can use that and the musical alphabet to find the other keys. So I know where C and F are. If I'm looking for a G, and I know my musical alphabet, G comes after F, so G is there. Number 9, A, So I've got F. I know where G is. My A is above G. So that's where my A is. Okay? C, D, E, F, G, A. All right. Number 10, B. So here's my C. B would be below my C, and there's not a key there. So I'm going C, D, E, F, G, A. B is right here. All right, number 11. You get the hang of this. Number 11, I'm counting up from C. I could count backwards from F. F to right here, or I could go C, D, E is right there. And then number 12, D, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. All right, that's pretty simple. Now, as I move to number 13, I take away your crutch of me telling you where the C and the F are. Now, it's pretty simple. All these keyboards are the same layout. They all have C at the bottom and F below the 3, so it's 2 and 3. Later on, I'll start mixing them up, so you have to find those home keys. But for right now, on number 13, do you know where F is? Hopefully you do. Number 14, do you know where C is? Hopefully you do. It's right below the group of 2. All right, number 15. So I have to either count up from C, C, D, E, F, G, or I can start on my F home key and just go to my next note. 16, starting on my F home key, F, G, A, B. And then number 17, C, D, E. All right, so that's the easy way of doing it. Now I want to do that in an exercise where we're actually finding the note on the keyboard. So turn to your appendix back again in the back of the book, and we'll do an exercise where we're actually playing the notes that I call out to you. Okay, in this exercise, what we're going to do on page number 86, I believe, in the back of the book, I'm going to call out a letter name, and you're going to find the note on the keyboard. All right? Now, we already know our home bass notes. The C is below the group of 2 accidentals. The F is below the group of 3 accidentals. We also know our musical alphabet. So we count up our musical alphabet from C. We know that the next note is going to be D, and then E, F, G, and I start over on A and B. Now, what this speed test does is get you used to finding those notes using your musical alphabet and getting faster and faster at locating a note on the keyboard. Now, what we're doing in this exercise is I'm going to call out a letter name. And I have a bunch of letter names here, but I'm going to call out. You don't need to look at the letter name on your page and then locate it. I want you just to use the C home bass key on this number, whatever it is, the first exercise here on page number 86. I want you to use your C, and we are only doing 3 notes. So C, D, and E. So I'm going to call out a letter name, and then I want you to strike with a nice piston stroke that note between C, D, and E. So it's only 3 notes, C, D, E. All right? So I'll say C, I'll say E, and then so on and so on. So I'm going to put the metronome on 80. I'm going to call out the letter name on 1 count, and then I want you to play it on the next count. 1, 2, ready, go. C, D, C, D, E, D, E, C, D, E, D, C, E, C, D, C. All right, so we started off pretty fast. You can go slower than that, certainly, okay? But the important thing is get a friend or have your band director call out a letter name and have everyone in the class actually play the correct note on the keyboard. Now, I made this very simple. In the first 2 lines, it's only those 3 notes because I really want you to get used to finding the notes around your home key C. So you can practice at 80. If that's no big deal, speed it up. Okay, practice it at 90, practice it at 100, get faster and faster and faster. Then you are going to be able to recognize, without probably even looking at the keyboard, exactly where that note is. All right, look at the third line here. So on the third line, I'm using F as my home key. So I've got F, G, A, and B. All right, I'm not going to keep going to C. I'm just using these 4 notes. Little bit harder because now I've got 4 notes, but not that big a deal. So in my first one, same thing, I'm going to call out the letter names. Okay, let's do a couple really slow just to see if you can do it. Let me call out a letter name and then I want you to strike it. Ready? Go. F, G, F, G, A, G, A, B, A, F, A, B, G, F. All right, so you don't have to use the ones that I've written here, but I'm just trying to force you to do a certain number of notes so you're not all over the keyboard. So let's try that third line on this page. So I'm going to call out those letter names, and then I want you to strike the correct key. I want you to use a really good piston stroke on each note, okay? Making sure that I'm hitting right in the center of the bar. For this, you can just stare at the key, listen. Hopefully I'm pronunciating my letter names good enough so that you can hear and strike the right notes. Here we go. Let's put that metronome on 80 and see how you do. 1, 2, ready, go. F, G, F, A, G, F, A, F, G, A, B, A, B, G, A, F. Okay? So you only have to use one hand. Okay? I can make you use your left hand, which I probably would if I was teaching a class, have everybody playing with their left hand. So saying those note names, and you don't have to use this, practicing first the C as your home base and then your F as your home base, getting very, very comfortable finding those notes around those 2 home base keys, and then using the whole octave, okay, C to B, not C to C, but C, D, E, F, G, A, B, then I can start calling out any note name of all 7 notes, and you should be able to locate those by using your home base keys and quickly using your musical alphabet. All right, you can also do this at home without somebody calling out the note names by thinking of an imaginary keyboard and using the letter names that I have here and just visualizing what that looks like. Another great resource that you can use is within the Fresh Approach Digital Series Speed Note Reading Game. Okay, what I did was I recorded a whole lot of these and put them on a keyboard that you can actually touch if you have an iPad or if you're using a computer or your phone. As I'm calling out the note names, you can see the keyboard and you can use that to touch those. So really encourage you to go to the Speed Note Reading Game. The more that you do these 2 different exercises, locating the notes on the staff and locating the notes on the keyboard, the faster you're going to get at learning to read music. So spend some time doing that, as well as your 3 daily warm-up exercises. When you get very comfortable with it, I'll see you in lesson number 2.